Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a video finally of how I weather my rolling stock and all that. So basically I'm just going to give you like a quick straightforward how-to on basically just like how to easily weather your rolling stock. I'm going to cover this covered hopper right here. As you can see, I already did a little bit of fading on it, and for fading I normally use the Tamaya weathering powders, and I don't know, I got these at Hobby Lobby. I don't know if they still make them, but they're just like little powder palettes. This one is like a rust, a soot, and then that is snow, which I use that for like fading, lettering, and then you have your mud, light sand, and then sand, and I use that for like the underbodies. Also, if you use the sand and just dry brush it onto the car, it turns out quite nicely, and it's an easy way to like fade the paint and just give it kind of a dusty, faded look instead of like completely rusted out. So that's pretty much how I do that. I'll basically just like take a brush and just like a regular decent sized paintbrush and swirl it around a little bit in the powders, and then you can apply it onto the car going up and down, just like how like the rain would wash stuff out on the car like in real life. So basically that's how I do that. Now I'm going to show you how I do like rust and like some of the like rust streaks going down the car and all of that. For that I use been just using Testors paints. This is a rubber color. It's pretty much like a really dark flat brown, and so I use that for my base coat of rust. I do that as the first layer and then come back with a dry brush and well, both of these I dry brush. Come back with rust, like the actual color is flat rust, and also that is Testors, and then I just go over the top of the car to make it look like layered rust, if you will. So I guess I will show you pretty much how I do this. Like normally when I do this, I start from the top of the car and work my way down, and just dab a little bit on the paintbrush, get some of it off, put the excess in the lid, and then just take like a piece of toilet paper, paper towel. Paper towel works better because this kind of rips, but just dry brush it off onto here to where there's not much paint left, and then take your car and just pretty much work from end to end is what I do, but start down and then just kind of get a feel for what the paint's going to be doing, and then slowly drag it out just to make it have that streak effect. And then you can also dab it to just to put it on a little heavier up at the top, that way you have something to streak down the side of the car, and normally ends up quite nice. Just do a little bit of weathering on this car, since all the prototype photos that I found of this car are relatively clean. So just do a little bit, trying to get you guys to be able to see this as best as possible, but just slowly like fan out, dragging it down to get your streaks, and then go back with a little more paint from the lid, dab it off on your towel, and then start adding some little rust spots on the ladders alongside the car too. And I'm just dabbing this is all I'm doing. It's just so you can get a feel for it, and then kind of fan that out. And like I said, this car was relatively clean from the prototype photos. So, and on most of these covered hoppers, the rust normally accumulates on like where seams meet, and so a lot of times you see rust spots down on the bottom side of the ribs where moisture collects, and also it rust going down, as you can see up there. So basically, just do a little bit more, not much, like I said, and you can always like add as much as you want. It doesn't really matter. It's your railroad. But to be prototypically correct, most cars, most covered hoppers completely look like shit and are just all full, covered in rust and grit and grime, all that. So normally tend to make these look as rusty and old as possible. And but like I said, not all cars are like that. But so, and just do little random spots, just to do little like rust spots here and there. And then some down at the bottom, alongside the seams. And also, doing this gives the car a lot more depth, and doesn't make it look as toyish, if you will, you know, or like a model. It makes it almost look like the real thing. And just these like little easy quick steps just makes it so much easier to like become like a master at weathering, I guess, if you want to say. But so that's pretty much what I do. So I got my first like initial layer. I'm just gonna do a little bit over here to tie the rest of the car off. Probably end up going back and doing a little bit more after this video. But just dab a little bit. And also, like with the techniques, you'll find out what works and what doesn't work for you. You don't always have to drag the rust spots down. It's pretty much just like what the paintbrush ends up doing. And so, I mean, like some of them you can streak down, but as of right now, I kind of like how this is looking. Sorry the lighting's really crappy in here, but alright, so with the paint a little bit still on the brush, gonna dip it into some thinner to get the dark brown off there, and that paint was starting to dry. Take some of that off, and we're gonna go back with a smaller brush, which is this little guy, as you can see, and gonna take some of this rust color from Testers, shake that up a little bit, and we're just gonna dry brush this on, and we're not gonna dip into the bottle since we don't want too much on there. So we're just gonna dip into the cap, just do a little bit to where the tip is pretty much covered, and then take your rag, wipe a little bit off at a time, and then go back to your rust spots and just dab it in there, like in the center of it. And might need a little bit more paint. Just dab a little bit on there, and this will give your rust a little bit more depth instead of just one color, and kind of highlight it and make it a kind of like, not like two-tone, but two-layered, if you will. So it's pretty much just about it. Go back down to the seams, do a little bit there, and kind of fan it down. Since this is the rust that you will see that streaks down the sides of the paint, So we're going to make that kind of flare out from the bottoms of the darker color of rust. And just about done. And if you put too much on, you can take your piece of paper towel or toilet paper, whatever, just dab it on there to take some of the paint off. And don't know if you can see that too well, but pretty much that's what it looks like so far. And then, like I said, this is just going to be a quick crash course in weathering. And then after that, what I normally do is go back, take the Tamiya palette, and take a little bit of this rust color, and take like a little beauty sponge or whatever they have them at makeup stores. My girlfriend gives them to me because they're all free. But pretty much just wipe it into the container a little bit onto your color of choice, which is going to be this rust color. And I'm going to take that and just kind of drag and dab around the rust spots, and that will lighten it up a little bit more too and draw more attention to the rust spots. And that is pretty much how I do it. So can't really see, like I said, in the weathering. There you go. You can see it a little bit better. But looks a lot darker on the video, but looks better in person. And then what I do for painting the trucks, I know most people take the trucks off when they weather their rolling stock and stuff like that. I don't do that. Hate messing with that shit. So basically, you're gonna go back, take your rubber color, get some of that onto your brush. Not a whole lot, just where it's like moderately wet. Wipe the excess off, and then just kind of brush down on the trucks with this color. Trying to let you guys see this, and pretty much completely cover it to where there's no black showing. And so after that dries, go back with the rust color and kind of dry brush it down and hit the springs, since the springs are going to be a lighter rust color than the rest of the trucks. And so that's pretty much it for the trucks. Also, I go back with some of the brown powders and just lightly go over that, and then take a brush with the sand powder and just dab it onto there, and it'll highlight like the springs and like the bolts and nuts and stuff like that on the trucks. So after you do that, then I go back and I just paint the wheels with the same dark rubber color from Testers, and that is pretty much it. And that is how I weather these things.